Okay, you guys, let's get this show on the road. Um, I'm not a happy man right now, and you know it. You know what I'm talking about too. I know you do. Let me make sure that my feed is working properly over here, and we'll get on with this. Where's my volume at? Okay, here it is. Let me do a sound check real quick. You know what I'm talking about too. I know you do. Yep, we got a sound on it. All right. So look. Let me tell you a little bit about myself before I go any further, all right? Now, I wasn't always like into politics or anything, you know? I was an aircraft mechanic for 40 years. I didn't hardly give a damn about politics, you know, and that's my mistake. That is my error, and I'll own that. But after I got sick with hepatitis C and neck cancer, and it financially ruined me and put me in the damn gutter, I started doing some studying, you know. I started like making YouTube videos and stuff. Um, So like one day I went down to, and this is important too. One day I went down to the SCC convention in Albuquerque. I think it was like 2014, and I had a video about it. I deleted it, but I was there just making video for my YouTube channel. And there was Heinrich up there endorsing Hillary Clinton 2 years before the election. Okay? And now you go ahead and skip on forward to a couple of years, and then you had that huge battle between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton. And at the time, I became a delegate in the Democratic Party. Well, how did I become a delegate? And this is super important too. Like, by, me doing these videos, and doing a little bit of digging around and searching and stuff, I stumbled on about uh, uh, ward meetings, okay? They were getting ready to have a ward meeting for my ward, so I decided to go down there and just make some video, for my YouTube channel. But whenever I got there, I was kind of flabbergasted. There wasn't very many people in attendance at that ward meeting. There was like me and two other people in the ward there. So, because of the party rules, I ended up nominating myself and then voting for myself, and all of a sudden now I'm a delegate in the Democratic Party. Okay, well, whenever I start doing something, I kind of take it a little serious. Okay, that's just the way I am. I guess maybe it's because of my upbringing or something, or because of my career working on aircraft, commercial and military. I don't know, but I took it to heart, and I started going to all these party conventions and doing all the party things that delegates do. And along the way, I met a couple other delegates, and we all started going there. They're good friends of mine to this day. But let me tell you, there's a bunch of shenanigans going on I didn't like. I got the impression that the party there in Albuquerque, New Mexico, at the time, all the precinct chairs and the ward chairs and all that, all they were interested in was keeping their position in the party or moving up the food chain. That's the impression I got, because nobody knew about those ward meetings. Back in the day, I didn't have a car back in the day. I was still struggling to get back on my feet after being, after almost dying from neck cancer. So I was taking the bus everywhere, and I kind of enjoyed it too because I was talking to a lot of people. It probably was a good thing because, people were all into it in 2016, okay? Because you had some people running, some real bad people running, like Trump. All right? So on the bus, I'd talk to people about politics, and I'd tell them that I was a delegate in the Democratic Party. Hey, register to vote, all that. Oh, by the way, have you ever heard of ward meetings? 99% of the time, or at least 80%, these people that I'd ask that question didn't know anything about a ward meeting. And a lot of them, they had been registered in the Democratic Party for years and decades. They never heard about a Democratic Party ward meeting or elections for delegates and precinct chairs and ward chairs and all that kind of garbage. They never heard nothing about that. So me and a bunch of other like-minded delegates, we got together and started figuring out how to get rid of all these chumps. And we were pretty successful about it. You go back and look, and you'll find a lot of them were thrown out and replaced by, like, Bernie Sanders people and other people who actually give a damn about democracy. Okay? Well, a lot of time went by, and I did a hell of a lot of studying because, honestly, back then I was real ignorant about a lot of things. I had ideas about socialism and this and that, and a lot of my ideas were just totally wrong. All right? So I studied, and I read a lot of books, and I got myself educated some about it. And I talked to a lot of politicians, too. And I'm telling you, things ain't right. And you know they ain't right. What's happening right now? You know what's happening. You've got a Supreme Court stuffed with people who are hell-bent on destroying every single social safety net, every single advancement in voters' rights and women's rights and all this, all of it, ever since FDR. Okay? And that includes Social Security. All right? See? You got it right here trying to get rid of Roe-v-Wade. They've been at that stuff for years. You know it. But they've been scheming and conniving and backstabbing and lying and manipulating the people trying to get that done. And there's a huge group behind it, and it's the evangelical Christians, especially down in Florida. Let me tell you, I was born and raised in Florida. And I was born in Bernardino Beach and raised in Jacksonville Beach, okay, back in Jim Crow era in the 1960s, all right? My grandfather, he took me and all the other kids, he took us all to a George Wallace convention. We didn't know what the hell was going on. We're just a bunch of kids, right? But that was the climate. I swear. I heard the N-word said so many times growing up that it's pathetic. Every time we passed through a certain section of Jacksonville where all the black folks lived, well, here a dad or somebody would go like, well, here we go through N-word town. You better roll up the windows and hold your nose or whatever. I mean, all kinds of that stuff every blessed day. And now look what you got in Florida. The racism's still there. But people say, oh, hell, things are a hell of a lot better now than they were back in Jim Crow era, um, Jim Crow era 60s. And I say they're not. You know what? Because all that stuff's still there. You may not have it open, but it's getting open. It's getting open again. On account of stuff like, oh, Elon Musk is going to buy Twitter. All right? Now you got people on airplanes. I posted it the other day. Here, let me show you what I'm talking about. You have people on airplanes going all crazy and stuff, you know, because of that bullcrap. Here, right here. Look, we'll play it. All right, watch. Now, wait a minute. Let me get the sound going and everything. Yeah, she was saying homophobic remarks. You hear that? Elon Musk is the best. See here what's happening? Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're a jerk off, you dick. All right, that's enough of that. But see, that's the kind of garbage I'm talking about right there. Elon Musk is all of a sudden going to buy Twitter. So now you got all these degenerates coming out of the woodwork. They think free speech is like saying homophobic slurs or racist slurs or ageist and sexist slurs. These guys' idea of freedom of speech is, oh, I get to say any goddamn thing I want to whoever I want to, whenever I want to, and fuck you if you don't like it. That's their definition of free speech. All right? And the reason why I'm going on about that right now, because that's kind of important too. Okay? That ain't free speech. This is what the founders were talking about with free speech. You know, back during the Revolutionary War, if the British Army had captured the founders of this country, they would have strung them all up by the neck until they were dead. That's what they did to traitors back then. No chopping off of the head for traitors. That's reserved for royalty. All right, they hang them, and sometimes they leave the body there to rot. Okay, that's what they wanted to do to our founders. You know why? Because they were speaking out against King George and the British government. You know, about the taxation without representation and all that other kind of stuff. All right? That's what freedom of speech is about. Freedom of speech and freedom of the press. It's about our ability to criticize the government and for the press to be able to report to us truthfully what's going on with the government without any fear of reprisals, you know, like getting strung up. Or like over in Russia. They don't have no free speech. You go over there, I mean, like any Russian citizen or something that like calls their special military operation a war, which that's what it is, an invasion, you know what happens? They get 15 years in prison. Why? Because they use the free speech. Those people that you see on that airplane, they ain't no free speech advocates. They're a bunch of dicks and a bunch of jerks that all they care about is being able to cram their venom down your throat. And I'm about sick and tired of it, because all this is leading up to all that with like Roe-v-Wade. Okay? Now, what else? What's next? Like on my little what do you call it? Introductory wording there. What's next? Okay? What? Oh yeah. Yeah, that's important too. Political parties serve to organize faction, to give it an artificial and extraordinary force, to put in the place of the delegated will of the nation the will of a party, often a small but artful and enterprising minority of the community, and according to the alternate triumphs of different parties, to make the public administration the mirror of the ill-concerted and incongruous projects of faction, rather than the organ of consistent and wholesome plans digested by the common council and modified by human interest. Let me now warn you in the most solemn manner against the baneful effects of the spirit of party George Washington. Those guys knew about party because they put up with all that crap from the British government with all the party, you know. And they were afraid of parties for one reason, because religion might get introduced or something in there. Where's my damn? Let me refresh that. Okay. Yeah, see, on my introductory thing, what's next? You know, what is next? Well, Bernie Sanders, he told us what's next in a lot of ways. Here, let me see if I can find it for you. Yeah, because Bernie Sanders made a huge ass speech about it, and he was giving us a warning. You listen in. Listen. Yeah. Yeah. What do they want? And the Tea Party, the creation of that was a lot of the genesis of what we have going on right now. No, it ain't. And the Republican Party's views have not changed one iota either, and neither have the corporate boardroom's views. Repeal Social Security. Because they don't want to have to pay their part of it. And if anybody thinks that they aren't trying to work on that right now, you better think again. Damn right. Right. Hell no. Hell no. because that way they can help boost corporate profits. Like me, like I had. Right. Right. Yeah, all those kids. You bastards. That's right. Despicable. Damn right. Yeah, I would like to interrupt because this is damn important too. Everything's important, all right? You know, um, Bernie Sanders, like, oops, he's talking about the minimum wage, and just before that, he was talking about Social Security. Well, you know what? Every single year, Social Security recipients get a cost of living increase. You know why? Because it's wrong to allow all those seniors to live in poverty and their income, their buying power get chipped away every year because of inflation. Well, what about the people who work for minimum wage? Isn't it kind of proper that they should receive the same kind of consideration? After all, they're out there working. You know, they're out there putting their nose to that grindstone and paying in. All right? And let me ask you this, okay? If you got seniors at the outflow end of the hose getting colas every year, then all the people making minimum wage, putting payroll tax in it, are not getting a cola too. That means the input for minimum for that payroll tax is like flat, while the outflow it keeps going up. To me, that sounds like a damn sabotage, you know. Oh, well, Social Security's going broke. Well, no damn wonder. They keep sabotaging it, trying to make it go broke. Why? Because corporations don't want to pay their part. That's why. All right, Mr. Sanders. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm pissed. People need at least a minimum wage that will maintain them a couple rungs above the bottom level of Maslow's pyramid of human needs, right? Yeah. Yeah, look at 2021, 22. Damn right. Yeah, be a slave maybe. Right. It's so dumb. Exactly. Yeah. Preach it, Sanders. You tell them. They've been working on that big time. Privacy. Oh, demeaning when you're starving. All right, let me interrupt you again. Yeah, I got a lot of life experience. Maybe I can use a little bit of it, okay, to give you some kind of example. Um, where was I? Oh yeah. Anyway, like I was, I went to damn homeless shelter before. I've been in a homeless shelter. Yeah, things ain't always gone just right for me. All right, and I didn't. I was looking for a job, couldn't find one anywhere. Money kept going away and away. Now I'm living in my car. That shit happens. And it ain't because I didn't try it either. So I go to a homeless shelter. All right, there's got all these other people at the homeless shelter. It was run by a Christian organization. Okay, they would feed the poor, right? So before they would feed anybody, you have to listen to a long-winded sermon. Okay, and to me, I thought that was totally backwards. They should have fed all those people first. They were hungry, you know. While that preacher was telling all those hungry people this story of their faith, they weren't thinking about what that preacher was saying. They were thinking about their belly and how hungry they were. You know, if they would have let all those people eat first, and then give them, like, I don't know, 30 minutes, an hour to, let it digest a little bit and all, get comfortable, and then invite them in there and do your preaching. You don't hold them hostage like that. I bet Jesus would love that, right? Okay, but that's the kind of stuff that the Koch brothers want, by the good graces of private individuals. Well, let's hope that they don't run out, right? All right, let's hear them out, because all this stuff that Sanders is telling you right here, they're still at it. They're still trying real hard to do all that stuff. Roe v. Wade, right? You know what? When I was sick with hepatitis C and neck cancer and couldn't work and was trying my damnedest to get well and losing everything I had, I was on food stamps. $200 a month. That's what I got for food stamps until I got Social Security going. And I was living on the good graces of friends. You know, I would get my money, a little spending money, by whenever I would get on the tram and go to the VA hospital, they would give me $13 for travel pay. You know, and I was riding on that public transport free because I was a veteran. So hey, now I got 13 whole dollars. You know, and finally the federal judge gave me a bench ruling. Bless that judge. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, let's kick them. Yeah. That's right. Not this one. Not this one. Yeah, how about that? Right. Right. Including me. No. Hell no. All right, all this stuff is important because they were trying to do all that stuff then, and they're still trying to do it. Just look at that. We support the eventual repeal of all taxation. Okay, could you imagine what would happen, like today, say, if they had repealed all taxation, right? Okay, there's a damn war going on in Ukraine right now by the despotic Russian government, and we're helping the Ukrainians trying to beat those devils. Oops. We're trying to help them beat the Russian invaders. Our tax dollars are buying tanks and are buying bullets and are buying cannons and howitzers and drones to help those people to defeat this invader who was trying to put onto the Ukrainian people the exact same thing what was done to them in the Holodomor famine. They were starving people out. Okay? Back in the Holodomor, I think it was like 1933, around in there, the Soviet army went into Ukraine and just started shipping out all the food, all the grain, everything, meat, potatoes, whatever, anything. They'd go to people's houses, ransack their houses, and take all the food and ship it off to Moscow. That was like, some people said that was like socialism. That wasn't a damn socialism. I know what socialism truly is now, because I've read Das Kapital, and I've read Wealth of Nations and several other books, and listened to like tons and tons of hours of lectures by professors. I don't want no damn socialism. And Russia ain't no socialism now. And Putin, he doesn't want to like restore some Soviet Union or something like that. He wants to restore the Tsar. He wants to be a friggin' Tsar of Russia. And you think he's gonna stop with Ukraine? If we don't stop them, the Ukrainian people, they couldn't do it on their own. They'd be starving them out. I mean, look at all the people they've already slaughtered indiscriminately and raping women. Like it was like a big ass rape party or something, killing babies. So, yeah, no taxation. We wouldn't even be able to send one single damn bullet to help them. Russia would sweep right through there, and then next is Poland, and I don't know where they would end. So all that talk about that is stupid. Okay, but Koch brothers, well, where they got their start? Their daddy was building oil wells in Russia. That's how they got their money. Okay, so now I get to wondering about people's loyalties and stuff. About the last president, those secret meetings with Putin where they confiscated notes and had ambassadors have secret meetings in Washington, and Jared Kushner wanted to have a damn hotline to Moscow in in Trump Towers or something. You can find it on the internet. It ain't hard to find. Don't take my word for it. Go look for it. They wanted to have a hotline over there, and people started raising so much hell about that they decided, well, I guess we better not do that. So, these people, they don't care about democracy. So why am I even talking about all that? Because those guys, all of those Republicans, all the ones that stood there and objected to the electoral vote count, all the ones who are excusing Trump and kissing his damn ring, all of them, they want that. They want everything that Mr. Sanders was talking about in that video. Every last bit of it. You can find that video. It ain't hard to find. So, like, now they got, like, Roe-v-Wade practically eliminated, So what do I hear on Twitter, right? Some lady, well, I don't know if I can find it again, but some lady was like, oh, hey, the reason why, oh, wait, I bet you I remember how to find it. Let's see. My tweets and replies, all right? So I've been doing gaming. I give up on all that. I'll tell you why I gave up on it. See that guy there? That friggin' Jim Jordan? That's one of them, right there. He's a damn fraud, Yeah, life. Yeah. Tell it to the relatives of all the, like those dead Capitol Police officers. Tell it to their relatives about life. You fucking traitor. I don't like them. Sorry for my language, folks, but I'm a little irked up. We got the wind blowing over here. But, yeah. Look at this guy. Opinions can change. They have seen the light and changed their minds. Presidents are not irreversible. It can change. Deal with it. Yeah, right. How about we have a general strike for reproductive rights? How about that? That might deal with it. That's something that I've been talking about for a while. Because, like Mr. Sanders was saying, these Koch brothers, they wanted all that stuff. They want to, like, get rid of every last safety net for our people. They want to get rid of the minimum wage. All of them. Why? Corporate profits. Because, $80 billion ain't a damn enough. Okay? And these guys, they don't mind spending $30,000 on one bottle of wine at a dinner party. They're going to bitch and gripe about putting in some money for Social Security so that labor don't suffer. You know what? There ain't nothing made or served in this nation or anywhere else on this planet without labor. So labor damn sure better start realizing that and start realizing the power. Because do you expect them to tell you this? No. They're going to tell you a bunch of lies. Okay? And not only that, they are going to twist the Constitution for their benefit, not yours. Like, for instance, free speech. Okay? And your rights to your own body. The universe gave you that body. Nobody can tell you what to do with it. A church or some zealot, they don't have no right to tell you nothing about how you treat your body. It's yours. Okay, but no, we got to repeal Roe-v-Wade. And now, after we get that repealed, well, let's go on and repeal Social Security too. That way, people like me, my aunt, a couple of them, other people, your mother, your father, I don't know. You know, they want to put them all on the street, or because the family don't want to see them on the street, they don't take them in. But oh hey, well, let's repeal the minimum wage law too. Where was that at? Oh, it probably passed here as yeah, let's repeal the minimum wage too. And that way, after we repeal Social Security, and your grandpa or your mom or whoever moved in with you, and I don't know, maybe you work at Burger King or whoever don't want to pay a proper wage, and you only make the minimum wage. Oh, they repealed that. Now, like Sandra said, you take that $3 an hour because I got a whole line of people over there. How you going to feed yourself? How you going to feed your grandpa or your mom who got thrown off of Social Security on $3 an hour? Come on. I don't know. These guys are draconian like that because all they care about is the bottom line, So they're going to give people like repeal Roe-v-Wade so they can pander to people like the evangelical Christians, who, so that the evangelical Christians will feel all heartwarm and go vote for some Republican anti-democracy jerk. Okay? I'm going to tell you the way I feel, plain, and that's the way I feel about it. And, these evangelical Christians, they're not so damn worthy, righteous, or whatever. They're a bunch of sinners according to their own book. They don't even follow their own master's teachings, Jesus Christ. They don't. Hey, I'm a secular humanist, and I've been a secular humanist for years. All right? I know more about it than they do, a lot of them. And they got a little secret. It's kind of like an open secret. Here, I'm going to show you their little open secret. They're fighting about it right now. And this is why this is why they were so much in favor of Donald Trump, okay? Because Trump went over there and moved the embassy to Jerusalem. He was pandering to all of those fundamentalist Christians, just same way Satan or DeSantis, by what they call him. I call him Satan. Pandering to all those Christians because they want to rebuild the temple on the mount. I'm not kidding with you guys. Hang on. So you got these evangelical Christians. You got all these evangelical Christians sending money over to organizations who in Israel who take that money and build settlements in occupied territories because they want that temple on the mount rebuilt. And the reason why they want it rebuilt is because they believe that when Jesus comes back, or that Jesus will not come back until the temple on the mount is rebuilt. See, that's why they pander to all those people. Oh, wait, let me skip that ad. I didn't want to show it. That's why they want to rebuild the temple on the mount, is because they believe that when the temple on the mount is rebuilt, Jesus Christ is going to descend from heaven and the apocalypse start and all the stuff in Revelation and the second coming. And don't take my word for it. There it is, right in front of your face. And the fundamentalist Israelis, they want the same exact thing, because they want to start back all the like blood sacrifices like they used to do in the old days before the temple was destroyed. So let me ask you a question. What do you think would happen if people started rolling bulldozers up to the Dome of the Rock and the Al-Sharif Mosque? Roll up there with bulldozers and bulldoze all of that so they could rebuild the temple. Do you know what would happen if something like that were to occur? World War III, maybe? There was a lady I met a long time ago. I wrote an article about it because this is frightening. And to me, this is proof of all this stuff. Why all this pandering to like these religious zealots, these fundamentalist evangelical Christians with the Roe-v-Wade, pander to them with that, and with the other stuff like DeSantis is doing, against Disney Corporation. I was real kind of surprised about that against a corporation, but that's why the pandering to them, because they want those votes. They know that if they support all that second coming stuff, that all of those fundamentalists will go and vote for them. See? Because that's all the fundamentalists care about. They believe that God does work through sinners, like Trump. Okay? So, I met a lady one time, about 8 years ago, and she was a retired lieutenant colonel in the Army, the United States Army. And we were at some some activity. It was like a temporary job, but we had some time. We were talking about this and that, and the topic of religion came along. Well, I asked her, because I knew about this by that point, I asked her, well, what do you think about that, all these American evangelical Christians sending all that money over there to Israel because they want to get this temple rebuilt on the Temple Mount. Aren't you afraid, like, if they started demolishing the Dome of the Rock and the Al-Sharif Mosque, that there would be like World War III? And now, I'll never forget this quote. I can quote it verbatim. Here it goes. Quote, well, if dropping a nuke on the Temple Mount is what it takes to bring back Jesus Christ, so be it, because what would come after that will be so much better than what we have now. Lady, you are insane. Now, I studied something about the 6-Day War. The Israelis had a bunch of Egyptians pinned down in the desert and were slaughtering them. And the USSR, they were on Egypt's side. The United States, of course, was on Israel's side. And Russia, they told the United States that, look, you better do something about that or we will. And the United States said, you better not. Well, our military all of a sudden went to DEFCON 3. That's Defense Condition 3. Where you're approaching nuclear war. All right? That was a retired lieutenant colonel in the Army. And now what do you got? Like, people like Michael Flynn. He was a general, I think, in the Army. Okay? Who else is in there? With these same kind of ideas. I imagine that a lot of them aren't crazy, but that's why they pander to all them evangelical Christians about this stuff with the Roe-v-Wade and the, with like the anti-gay riots and all that. That's why, because they're trying to get their votes. They don't care about that. They don't care about the people in Israel. All those evangelicals, they think all those people in Israel, all the Jews, they believe they're all going to go to hell anyway because they don't believe in Jesus Christ. Okay? A bunch of damn, See, and this is the sad state that our nation has gotten into and has led us up to today with this Supreme Court, this leaked document from them about getting rid of Roe v. Wade. And then the next thing will be coming, and the next thing, and the next thing, compliments of them, like getting rid of Social Security and minimum wage. Why don't we just have feudal America, 21st century, with lords and all that, would kiss their ass maybe for a handout. Yeah, I don't think so. There's all this kind of stuff that turned me into a Marxist. Okay? So, like, I digress hugely. But some lady, let me see if I can find it again, some lady was saying, you get these trolls, they're coming out of the woodwork. I ain't putting up with their damn stuff. Some creep. Yeah, right. Have you met America? You know why? Because, see, I'm so damn sick of this, Yeah, we should punish them with a damn general strike. Everybody. No buying, no selling, no nothing. And put the pinch on their profits and watch them squeal. First they'll threaten, then they'll squeal, and then you get some damn idiot troll with this laughy face, have you met America shit. So I ain't putting up with it. Shoot, troll. I know you care more about trying to get somebody's goat a lot more than you care about people. I have to treat you like a 5-year-old if you're going to act like one. You have nothing but smart aleck comments. I doubt you can solve a problem. Troll, thank you, Snoop, dog, shut the fuck up, bitch. Because, I'm telling you, don't put up with these people's crap anymore. Try to keep it where you don't get banned. And I tell you what, if Elon Musk successfully gets hold of Twitter, my account is canceled. All right? Because, he don't got it yet. The stockholders have to vote on it. And that's important. So I'm going to be bringing that up here in a minute. Yeah. Like that lady was telling me, let me see, I'll find it here in a second. It might have been the person that blocked me. I've been doing a lot of gaming, because of the Democratic Party here in my county. So, this lady that I found on the internet, her post, she said something about Glenn Kirshner. You need to watch Glenn Kirshner. He is a ex-prosecutor. He knows his stuff, and he's pissed, about he's got the lowdown. All right. So this lady, it says, and Kevin Sorbo, he's an ass. I don't like him anymore. I thought his shows like Hercules and all that, I thought they were pretty cool. But what is all this stuff? Why is he making an ass of himself like that with these right-wing arguments? That they these guys, they make me sick. So, some lady, she tried to blame us. I guess they got blocked. Anyway, some lady tried to blame the voters, the Democratic Party voters, for the Republicans wanting to get rid of Roe-v-Wade. She's like, oh, well, if you guys had voted for Hillary Clinton in 2016, all this stuff wouldn't be going on now, so it's all your fault, basically. I'm paraphrasing, but that was the gist of it. And you know what? She could throw that stuff in the damn garbage. Because it ain't those voters' fault. They were doing what they thought was right. Okay? Whose fault is it? It's partially the Democratic Party's fault. And I'll tell you why. See, I've been on the phone a lot this morning. I've been trying to get a hold of the Democratic Party in New Mexico. Every time I call the number, I get like a message machine. And same with the Grant County Democratic Party. Trying to call them too. I get a answering machine. Well, I called the DNC, in I forgot what their address is, but I called them, and I got a person. And I started ranting and raving about all this stuff like I'm doing right now. I'm like, hey, you guys, this Roe-v-Wade deal is partially the Democrats' fault. Now, why is that? Okay, I used to be the precinct chair right here in my precinct. And I was the vice chair of the ward in this precinct. And I quit. Well, the reason why is because, like I said before, whenever I jump into something, I try to do the best job that I can, and I take it seriously. So I started doing all this research, about like which precincts have a precinct chair and a vice chair, which wards have a chair and a vice chair, what's going on, and I found here in Grant County a whole bunch of empty positions. Well, because, I want to get things done. I don't want that traitor Trump or any of those jerks in office. So I'm trying to get people to, be a precinct chair or whatever. I posted on my Facebook page. Here, look here. See, look. I even I bought a website that's still there today because of all this. I posted on a Facebook page that I've made for all this. Hey, look, we need people for all these positions. I mean, we could have put them in there. What ends up happening? The vice chair of the Democratic Party here in Grant County called me up and started reaming my ass, saying that the chair of the Republican Party in Grant County called her and told her that I was posting all this stuff about needing all these positions. Oh, what are you trying to do? Make me look bad? I haven't said much about this up until now, but I am fed up, especially after that lady said, oh, well, it's all you voters' faults who didn't vote for Hillary Clinton. Well, hey, we got elections coming up and stuff, right? How many people have knocked on my door trying to get me to re-register as a Democrat? Not a blessed one. None of them. I'm not a Democrat anymore. After that stuff, I dropped out, of being a Democrat or a chair for this precinct or a vice chair of the ward or any of that. I said, you guys take it. You can have it. Because I'm seeing ideological differences going on here. I see people that ain't doing their job. Yeah, they got a... whenever I was talking to the people in the National Party, Democratic Party, they looked at this, they called me back. And they looked at this, they said, you know what, that website looks like it was made in the 90s. This is one of the things I wanted to improve. See? So now they have these functions that are going to be going on. All right. Now, how many Democratic voters know about this website? I wager that there ain't many of them know about it. Okay? I'm sure if they were told about it, they might go look at it. You know? But first you got to make them aware. You know, like I wasn't aware of ward meetings back then when I became a delegate. And I stumbled upon it. You know, people don't know about this stuff. So, you know, they got these things coming up, these things coming up like this, and nobody knows about them. I don't know, the few people, insiders, you know, they may know about it, you know, but the average Joe, John, and Jane Doe, they don't know about it. And they need to get educated about it. They need to get educated about whatever it is in your state. In my state, it's like precincts and wards, all right? But whatever it is in your state, the Democratic Party in every precinct and ward and county and state, they need to be getting more public. You know, you go read the Democratic Party rule book for the state of New Mexico. It says these people are supposed to be getting out there and trying to drum up registrations and everything, you know, like have some kind of functions, go knocking on doors and meet people. They don't. I haven't seen any of them. No, I don't know, a couple of years ago there was people standing on the corner with signs whenever Biden was running for president. But like right now, you see a couple of signs on the road and vote for this guy for sheriff or whatever, you know. But you don't see any Democratic Party officials on the street knocking on doors, asking people if they're still registered as a Democrat, doing things like I wanted to do and have like parties in the park, Democratic Party, a Democratic Party party in the park to drum up the registrations. You know? It's no damn wonder that the Republicans on all these social issues are kicking the Democrats right in the ass. All right? So that's what I called the Democratic Party about, and I told them about it, and I swear the national level people, they kind of agreed with me, okay? And any party official here in Grant County, if you get sore or if you get sad or angry or anything like that, well, I'm truly sorry, but I'm kind of sore and angry too, okay? I collect Social Security. You know, I'm disabled. I'm 65 years old. I don't know how much longer I got left, okay? I might live like as long as great grandpa. He lived to be 97, okay? That's another 32 years. What the hell am I supposed to do, or your mom or whoever, what are they supposed to do? If Social Security is eliminated, what are people supposed to do? Am I going to sell everything that I own and well, I'll just be a beggar on the street, okay? Will that make you assholes in the Republican Party happy? Is that what you want? You know, the Democratic Party too, maybe, because I don't see no party officials knocking on my door. I don't hear no phone ringing, and they got my number. I don't hear no phone ringing saying, "Hey, man, why don't you re-register as a or as a Democrat?" You know what they do? They say, "Oh, vote blue, no matter who." Oh yeah, vote blue in their hat or who? You know why? Because they got their insider guys all in there. And if you just like vote straight party ticket, well, you're just letting them do your thinking for you. Well, look what their thinking has got us here today with the elimination of Roe-v-Wade. That's what they want to do. Okay? So, I don't know. Democratic Party, they're partially at fault. I heard Bernie Sanders might run again for president. I hope he does. When I was talking to that lady on the phone, she called me back. She's like, well, you could help out with the situation by volunteering to do this or that. And I'm like, you know what? I tell people not to vote for those right-wing extremist radicals. I tell them to go vote for a Democrat, because the Democrats, honestly, are a hell of a lot better than the Republicans. But I ain't joining the Democratic Party here in Grant County until I see some improvement. If one of them comes and knocks on my door this very day, then maybe I'll join. Or if ever. But I guarantee you they won't. And let me ask you this too. Have you ever heard of a phone bank? They have like political candidate, whoever, running for office, right? They make a phone bank. They get all these volunteers going and calling thousands and thousands of people. Oh yeah, you better get out there. Don't forget, vote for Joe Blow here, our candidate, right? You get that all the time. But whenever these precinct and ward elections are coming up, how many phone calls do you get about that? Oh hey, this is the Democratic Party here. We're getting ready to have ward meetings and precinct or ward elections and precinct elections, all that. We're getting ready to have them. So you need to come on down, vote for whoever you want to be a chairman in the ward or precinct. You don't hear it. How many people have you heard a Democratic Party official tell you to go to a ward meeting and vote for a ward chair or a precinct chair or anything? I bet you haven't. Very few of you, at least. Oh yeah, they got those phone banks for the candidate. You know why? Because at the ward meetings and all that, and at those kind of functions, that's where those candidates come from. So if they keep you out of the ward meetings and everything, well, all the people that got to be delegates, that were voted to be a delegate at the ward meetings and everything, well, they're going to vote for who they want to be a candidate too. Well, if you got all a bunch of insiders going year after year, where only two people, the same ones, they're the only ones show up, nominate themselves, vote for themselves, then they go nominate, the same old guys. And then what do we got? We got a bunch of Republicans trying to get rid of Roe v. Wade. And then whatever comes next, because they're going to pander to religion, these religious extremists, because the religious extremists are going to vote for them so that they can get these minimum wage laws and all this stuff repealed and stuff. And this is damn important. Okay, the Koch brothers, right? They want to do all of that because, let's face it, they want to increase the bottom line, right? They want those dividends to be higher. They want their stock prices to be higher. So, whenever you're cutting labor and all that, they might get that. If they cut Social Security out and they don't have to match, what the employees are putting in, well, hell, that might make dividends go up. That might make that stock price go up. So, who's doing that? It's that corporate boardroom, of course. You know, they have a corporate boardroom where all these people, these board members, they get in there and they say, well, hey, we ought to take this factory here, this Carrier air conditioner factory. Oops. Carrier air conditioner. Indianapolis shut down. Do you remember that? Do you remember when these guys brought all of their employees there and told them what they want to do? All right, they thought about this in a corporate boardroom. So just listen. Fuck you. Huh. Yeah. Huh. Yeah, that's for fact. Yeah. 17. There you go. Yeah. Right. Fuck you. Yeah. Move it to Mexico. Oh, well, pardon me, your lordship. This has been going on for years. You know it. Shutting down factories, moving them overseas, pitting our people against people in other countries in an ever downward spiral of less and less wages. You know, I don't want people in Mexico to work for like subsistence level, and then our people have no subsistence at all because some son of a bitch like that moved the jobs to Mexico. I mean, this is all part of it. Okay? He mentioned unions. All right? What the hell good is a union at this point? Right? If unions were so good, why have we got right to work laws everywhere? Okay? Unions are making a little bit of an improvement now, but you got people just like that trying to crush it. You know it. You know what these guys do? They get in that corporate boardroom and they say, oh, hey, you know, we ought to try to get like right to work laws here in Indiana, say, right? So we'll just send a lobbyist to the state legislature, let them chew their ears, and, you know, shove a little campaign cash payola over there, and we'll get our right to work laws. And then we can fire anybody for any old reason, right? Oh, that's okay. You can quit for any old reason. Well, I had a good example of that down in Dothan, Alabama, whenever a ligament on my shoulder like got tore off of the bone at work, and then they fired me for poor performance. I sued them, and I won because they were wrong. It was wrongful termination. That's what these guys are doing. That's wrong what they're doing. They sit in that corporate boardroom and with a union and decide, oh, hey, we're just going to throw all these people on the street, you know? And we'll just pack it all up and go to Mexico, you know? Oh, quiet down, everybody. We got important information, right? So that's why they pandered all those like people, like all those evangelicals, so they vote for them. You know, they pander to them with like eliminate Roe-v-Wade, okay, so they could do that. You know, screw everybody in the corporate boardroom where they make all the decisions about everything. Labor don't get to make any decisions at all. You know, they say, oh, hey, I think we should eliminate the minimum wage. Well, we'll just send lobbyists to Washington, you know, that ex-politician with the revolving door lobbyists. We'll send them to Washington and chew all the political ears over there. Look, just hand out a little campaign payola, compliments of Citizens United, and we'll keep that minimum wage down to like 2009 was the last time the federal minimum wage was raised. Give me a break. We got inflation out the ass right now because of those damn Russians, you know, and because of the pandemic and everything. We got inflation. Well, what about those folks on minimum wage? Okay, I mean, $15 an hour ain't no good anymore. You know, you're talking about $10 an hour. They talk about $15 an hour. They still talk about $15 an hour. But the prices keep going up. Well, what about giving minimum wage a COLA? And what about doing something about that corporate boardroom? I don't know. Maybe you've heard of it. Maybe you haven't. But there's such a thing called co-determination. They have co-determination over, like in Germany and other places like that in Europe. That's a well-known concept over there. What co-determination is that is where, whenever these stockholders and stuff, are voting for the corporate board members, those members who send lobbyists to Washington, D.C. to try to get rid of Roe-v-Wade and the minimum wage and all that stuff. Whenever those guys are getting voted in, well, labor, they have a right by law to vote in 50%, in my view, 50% of those seats in that corporate boardroom. That way, whenever some jerk and Carrier air conditioner in Indianapolis, Indiana, where I went to high school, whenever some jerk like that is like in the corporate boardroom, like, oh, hey guys, I got an idea. We'll just fire everybody here, pack it all up, and go to Mexico, right? If you had 50% labor in that corporate boardroom, you would have all of them probably saying, well, you know what? I don't think so. We're all voting against that idea. There's no way in hell you're shutting down this plant and moving it to Mexico. But you saw it. They didn't have no say about it at all. And those folks, they lost their job. And that was February 11th, 2016. And I've heard of this concept too, where, say, you have 50% labor in the corporate boardroom and 50% stockholder interests, and one of those stockholders is like, well, hey, you know what? I believe that we should send some lobbyists to Washington so that we can help overturn Roe v. Wade. That would pander to all those evangelicals who are going to vote for our guy who's going to vote to get rid of minimum wage and Social Security. See how this works? This is a damn deep, deep problem. Not a deep state. But if you put labor in there, labor's going to be saying, oh, wait a minute. You ain't going to be sending no lobbyists to Washington, D.C. to get rid of Roe v. Wade so that you can do all that other stuff. The people need to get informed, and they ain't being informed. I don't know what the hell's going on with the Democratic Party, okay? They should be, I was reaming them about this morning, about co-determination. We wouldn't be having half the problems we've got if we had co-determination. If you put 50% labor in the corporate boardroom, whole hell of a lot of our problems are going to get solved, because you won't have a bunch of rich, snooty jerks who don't give a damn about you running the whole show like they have done ever since the beginning of fucking agriculture. I swear. Our people, our species, we've went through damn monarchies and feudalism and all kinds of crap. And now we got capitalism. So, let me tell you something. Under capitalism, slavery thrived. You see it in the South, in the United States of America, our own country. We fought a war over it. Thousands and thousands of our people died over it because of capitalism. Cotton king, right? Cotton was king. Got to keep working for nothing, okay? But we got rid of that and started rising our people up, all of them. But oh no. Now we got, after the Civil War was over, that wasn't the end of it. The Reconstruction era. Go look at a damn documentary or something. That's capitalism. Under socialism, slavery's impossible. Because under socialism, you have stuff like co-determination where you got labor in the corporate boardroom. Now we need to have a damn worldwide minimum wage so that, we don't pit brothers and sisters from different countries all fighting each other. Oh, well, hey, okay, don't move it to Mexico where you're going to pay them $2 an hour less. I'll take $3 an hour less. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the Democratic Party, they need to do better. I don't know what I'm going to do. I might have to think about it. You know who we have for in Congress for my area is That Harrell. She's one of those people who voted against the electoral count, insurrectionist. Well, why did That Harrell happen to win in my part of the country down here in New Mexico? It was because Torres, she was making these commercials like shooting shotguns and stuff, right? Well, I get along with both sides, Republican or Democrat. I get along with them all because she was trying to get both Republicans and Democrats to vote for her. But what she ended up doing was alienating a lot of Democrats. Democrats don't want to see their politicians shooting guns and all that, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, like shooting cars. We're going to blow up socialism. They don't want to see that garbage. They want solutions. The people aren't dumb. The people shouldn't be condescended to like they've been doing for so long. People shouldn't be lied to like they've been doing for so damn long, like the Republicans are doing. So, I don't know. I guess I'm starting to run out of juice. I don't even know how long I've been talking about this. Look, this is going on 5 o'clock. But I'm pissed off. I'm pissed off at the Republicans. I'm pissed off at the Democratic Party. Because, where are they? I don't see them anywhere. Where the hell are they? Oh, there's a sign over there. Come on. So we'll leave it at that. Think about what I said, okay? I don't know. Maybe I'll run. I don't know. Maybe I'll run against That Harrell. I thought about it, but I don't know. When I read Wealth of Nations, to me, that was a chore. Now, I've never been like some huge reader. I do it when it's necessary, like when I was trying to inform myself, get informed, So it wasn't like an enjoyable task. Now, I know that if I ever ran for office, that I'd have to be reading all kinds of stuff, all these bills and everything, which, honestly, a lot of them don't even read them, Like, I doubt, seriously, that like Marjorie Taylor Greene reads a bill. She doesn't even know what's in the Declaration of Independence. Go watch that trial they had down in Georgia, where they're trying to kick her off the ballot. She don't know the Constitution. Hell, Bobert up in Colorado, one state north from me, she doesn't have a GED until like a couple months or weeks before she took office. And I'm not trying to like get down on people with GEDs because I have a GED too. I didn't get my GED until 2005 whenever I busted my shoulder. I had time off from work, so that's what I did. I went to get a GED. Okay? There are a lot of people out there with GEDs, and they are smart as a whip. But what do we get? We get a bunch of politicians treating all of us as if we're dumb as rocks. Okay? Like this bull crap they tell you about the First Amendment, or the bull crap they tell you about the 14th Amendment, or the Second Amendment, or any kind of it, Manipulation. That's what they're doing. manipulating you. That they're taking you for a damn chump. Do you want to be took for a chump? I know I don't. So, the Democratic Party, they need to get busy, I'm telling you. God, I don't know. Get active. If that party ain't going to tell you about these ward meetings, just go, to whatever inadequate website they have that looked like it was made last friggin' century, and check them out and go to their meetings, get yourself elected, vote for stuff like co-determination. Bernie Sanders had co-determination on his platform, and so did Elizabeth Warren. Both of them did. And what do you hear about it today? Nothing. So we need to have it, because that way maybe trying to eliminate Roe-v-Wade wouldn't happen, or down the road the elimination of Social Security or Medicaid, Medicare, and all that stuff. I'm telling you, if they don't get busy about this stuff, you don't lose it all. So I'm going to leave it at that for now. I really appreciate it. Any of you that have come and watched this video, I haven't done one like this in a long time, probably over a year. After I got fed up and dropped out of the party, and I decided, well, I'll just do gaming. I deleted all my videos on YouTube, but I'm fired up right now. This shit has got to end, and I don't mean like in 2024 or even 2022. It's got to end now. So, one last thing. If labor doesn't get co-determination, if they keep pushing to try to eliminate Roe-v-Wade, if they want to get rid of all this kind of stuff like that, I would say just with the elimination of Roe-v-Wade, we should have a fucking national general strike, economic strike. No working, no buying, no selling. Don't drive your car. Don't turn on any electrical gadgets in your home. Don't turn on nothing except for some medical devices to keep our people alive. But everything else, don't do anything to put even one single dime or a red cent into corporate profits. Because I guarantee you, at first, they will threaten. They will. They will try to withhold food. Honestly, they will. And then, because they love their money, they love their profits, they love their lifestyle, then they will relent, and you will get co-determination, and you will get to keep Roe v. Wade and all this other stuff, and improvements like maybe minimum wage getting a damn cost of living increase every year like they should have had all along. So, think about it, people. Long and hard. I don't know. Maybe I'll make another one of these videos. I don't know. I'm getting pretty damn fed up. So, I'll leave it at that. All right? So make a comment. Tell me what you think. Tell me what I should do. Let's have a damn brainstorm. And there is no such thing as an idea, a dumb idea. Well, I guess there are some ideas like getting rid of Roe v. Wade. That's smart for them, not for us. Okay? Okay. That left and right stuff, where that shit came from? The French Revolution. You had the people on the right. They were the monarchists. They were the ones in support of the king. The people on the left, they were the ones in support of labor. And it's to that day, same way to this very day. So just get out there, all right? Get out there and get involved. Get involved. do something. Call these people. Call all these senators and congressmen, party chairs, and everything. Call them and tell them that you want this stuff. Tell them you're fed up. Put your foot down. So, we'll leave it at that. Thanks a lot. I'm wore out, but I might have some for you later.